Today I am here with flutist Monica Williams, and I would call her a world flutist. She is classically trained, but plays many different styles of world flutes, including Native American flutes. Monica is based in San Francisco, and I know you've been teaching from your apartment there now.
Yes.
All started.
Yes.
How is that working for you?
Surprisingly well. I mean, it's not without its challenges. I feel like I learn more every week, and it gets a little bit easier. Um, it's definitely challenging because what there's some of the things that I would do in person lessons have to be modified. And at first, the first week, I was like, man, I can't do what I would normally want to do. I can't hear the slight nuances that would exist me to do this. But then I realized I've just got to present information in a different way, and I'm actually exploring lots of creative ways to talk about sound and articulation since I can't be there in person to hear some of those things. And so I feel like even though it was a challenge at the beginning, it's actually challenging me in a good way to become a better educator. Things I'm having to do more to figure out what every student needs during this time, and it's challenging me in a good way. Some of the things I wouldn't have thought of, I'm going to keep in my studio policy when we eventually return to some normalcy here. So it's challenging, it's tiring, but in many ways it's a good kind of challenging.
Well, you had invited me to join your flute choir there a week and a half ago,
Hmm.
and I found it really interesting. I thought you did have some creative ideas because, like, how do you keep a group, an ensemble going during this time?
Yeah, of course you can't play together, and it's really cool that some people are doing these video collaborations. Personally, I'm not a video editor, and so some of my groups wanted to do like this massive flute choir thing. I know you're doing one, which is it's cool if you have like a video person. Video is like one of those things that just technically challenges me, and during this kind of stressful time, you have to like love a project if you're going to take it on. That's not one I loved. But I could do these Zoom classes, which are like just different ways of connecting. We start off with a little just how is everyone doing connection type of a thing. We read some duets because you can mute. I learned on Zoom you can mute everybody, and one person can play the second part, and everyone else can play the first part. So you're not like really collaborating in a way of like you're not hearing both parts live, but you're getting the experience of playing, hearing someone and yourself. So it's been my way of kind of doing some kind of an ensemble experience when you really can't meet live, or this technology doesn't allow us to play simultaneously. It won't
Right,
line up quite right, as you
right.
know. Hmm.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, something positive that comes from all this is that maybe somebody creates or invents something where people can play together in real time.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. But in the meantime, it was nice to have, like, there's things that, you would probably, it'd be very difficult for me to invite you into my flute choir, just our distance location and stuff. So just to have some people show up that, that they wouldn't get to meet otherwise. And to have, it's my flute choir, but I invited people that had moved away and college students that are sheltering in place in different places. So it was kind of like a little reunion too, because
Yeah,
people can actually meet in different places.
yeah,
Of course, we had to cancel our live events, which is kind of sad. No concerts or recitals and stuff like that. But
yeah.
even with that, I found a kind of an alternative. We're going to have a virtual talent showcase, which will kind of be fun on Zoom too, where you can send out links to family members that might not be in the area, and everyone's going to perform a small solo, and then we'll just connect that way. So that's something I would have never thought of 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Five,
I thought,
six, whatever week this is.
yeah, I thought that was really creative. So each person will be performing just solo flute, or will they have backing tracks? Or
It'll probably just be solo flute. We're gonna do some kind of theme and variation type pieces where it'll be we can kind of share the screen that way. There are a couple people, like there's a member that has two daughters that play flute at home, so they can actually do a trio. But there's not too many people that live with people that are also musicians.
yeah,
But mostly solo. I'm gonna also do the same thing for my private studio. It's little samples. I think it works best in this platform to keep things shorter rather than longer type of things. So some people want to do, in the younger generation, some people want to do, a French piece and then Disney, So I'm allowing just anything that gets your spirits up and that people would want to hear.
That's great. And then you were talking about smart music. I used to use that when I was teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I would use that a lot when students were preparing for recitals or competitions,
Right.
so you could play along with the piano part.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's not the best sounding piano, but at least it's something to practice to.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's free for those, if anyone's watching and wants to check it out. It's free until June 30th because of the situation. So
Yeah.
that's why I was kind of experimenting with that a bit.
Yeah, and there's Music Minus One. Have you ever used any of those?
I have, and they still exist, around. Um, I guess for me personally, I'm trying to think of something that's super accessible where you can get volumes of things, as a smorgasbord of kind of information hub. But yeah, those are much better quality. The minus ones are
Yeah,
better qualities. Hmm.
use those. So, how are you holding up in general? You are.
Oh, I think like everyone, there's some ups and downs to this thing. I try to keep perspective, and gratitude for what we have. It's the same four walls. That you seem to look at the same route when walking, and so I'm like everyone. I think ready to return to some kind of a normalcy. Um, Certainly, like, the thought of not traveling for a while is disturbing on some levels. But I try and keep in mind that, I have food, I have a bed, I have technology. It's cool that we could do this. I can still teach my students.
Mhm.
So that helps me because I think everyone can kind of go down this hole. You can go down this hole of kind of darkness. For me personally, I work on limiting my news. I have a love-hate relationship with it because I want to know what's going on in the world, but at the same moment in time, it can actually, suck you into this. So I have to put a limit on it. Hmm.
Yeah, I try not to watch it very often, but I do want to keep up to date on what's going on
Yeah,
also. So, I do have to watch it for a limited amount of time.
right. Yeah. Because you can't completely ignore it. So I think it's like balancing it out, but not at the same moment in time sitting in front of the TV all day, which, at the beginning, I think a confession I was. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
like, horrible. Um, but then, but then it got a little bit better. I think, just being an anxious person myself, generally, I've always kind of struggled with that. In some ways, I'm doing better than I would have ever expected. If you told me 6 weeks ago that this situation was going to happen, I would think that it would be a basket case. I'm actually handling it pretty well. I think that, as an anxious person that goes through what ifs, I've imagined much, much, much worse things, and so even though this is horrible, in some ways it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. I have this. I can imagine a lot worse, and I try to not go to that level of things, but in some ways that's helped me, because I'm very action oriented. So early on, I didn't hoard. I wasn't one of those people that was buying up. It's not my fault. The toilet paper's out, but that I did actually do some things that helped me feel better about it. I stocked up on my medications. I, made it sure I had enough food that, I could ride out, not going to the store
Mhm.
for a little while.
Oh, and there she goes.
Hello, Miley. She
Oh,
wants to say hello.
I think the wind blew the front door shut, so
Oh.
whenever she hears the door, she thinks somebody's here.
Ah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone through phases. Like when it first started, it was kind of depressing. And then it was like, oh, well, we're in it, for a while, so let's just have fun with it. And um, so we were laughing a lot. But now I feel like this week it's like I'm ready for it to be over.
Hmm.
Like, okay, we did this, like, let's move on. And I know we just can't. And it's going to take a while
Right.
to get back to whatever normal is going to now be.
Right. And I think that that's where a lot of people's, and myself included, it's the uncertainty. If you knew that this was going to end here, you could begin planning for that.
Yeah.
You we a lot of people just can't really plan for anything. Like, this is the time I begin planning summer
Right.
and planning, performances and planning things. And you can't do that like you would normally.
Yeah, this is my planner. It is
It
like,
was funny. I
yeah,
saw a meme that said that the least used purchase for 2019 was a 2020 planner because, like, it's sitting empty. What days are this? I mean, I'm usually pretty good on my days, but the other day I got up and I was ready to teach my students online, and the student wasn't showing up, and I texted her. I'm like, "Where are you?" And she said, "It's Wednesday. It's Tuesday. My lesson was on Wednesday." I'm like, "Oh my god, I lost a day. I switched modes, got to the right student thing." Like, so, I
yeah,
think that even though I have a routine of like teaching that's the same for each day, just being here in this kind of space, you lose track of time. It's
you
like,
do.
dang,
And it
it's weird.
seems to go faster than I thought it would. But then it all blurs together.
It's like a weird dream state. I feel like it's a dream state. Like, in a dream, it feels like at the moment in time, it feels like time is going by slow, but it's also fast at the same time. It's like you don't. For at least for me, it's like reality is a little blurred right now. I think that maybe that's a preventative thing, to protect us. Maybe that's a human condition. Like,
Yeah,
just things get a little blurred as we go along. And
that's a good way to describe it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, so let's talk about your flutes for a minute. So you're classically trained, as I was, but when did you start playing more of the world flutes? Was it while you were still studying in school, or?
It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't until much later. It was actually at the NFA convention. I was going. You've been there before. So I met you, I think, in person for the first time. But there's like this like football size arena full of flutes, and generally it's mostly classically geared, classical music, classical flutes. But there was one little Native American flute stand, and I just kind of happened upon it, and like just curious about everything and tried it. And because I had it in my hands, I had an aha moment, like, this is amazing. Why am I not including these in my sounds of usages? Because as you know, as a flute player, we're always looking to give another palette of sounds, as how many colors of the rainbow you can create. Well, you can do quite a bit on, with the flutes we have in the traditional classical, even, C flute, alto bass, all those things. But, once you include wooden flutes and flutes from different cultures and countries, you open up that whole palette that you can use. Um, so it was a no brainer for me once I like actually played it. It was like immediate, like, okay, I'm gonna get this flute, and then as budget allowed, you got more flutes, and you can continue your growth that way. But
Yeah. So I know people have asked you before how many flutes you have. Do you know how many you have?
I think it keeps. Well, I sometimes, yeah. I have a lot that I teach with as well because I do these workshops, but I would say it's probably like around the 80 mark. Not all of them are used on recordings and of the same level, but I imagine if you ask me that question in 5 years, I'll say a much bigger number. I think it'll just keep growing as I go along because it's like a collection. If some people don't understand. Don't you have enough flutes? Don't you have another flute? Don't you have three other flutes in E minor? But yeah, but this one, this one, because they're all unique. They're all like snowflakes. They all have their individual characteristics, and sometimes those individual characteristics can inspire a creation or a sound that goes along with another collaboration, or just has another timbre that will work better with this scenario. So
Yeah.
I'll keep growing them as I move along.
And I've come later to the game for the world
You,
flutes. So,
you,
you know,
yes, your recordings are great. Yeah.
so I've had, I have a few Native American flutes now and a Chinese flute. So I'll probably collect like you do.
Yes, you'll go in a couple years time. You think you'll be able to increase your yeah.
Yeah, but you introduced me to the brachiality head joint, uh,
Mhm.
which is kind of unique. So now I have one of
Mhm.
those thanks to you. And
Mhm. Don't you hate that when people do that? I'm like, oh, I love it. Crap, now there goes my bank.
yeah, so some of the flutes I now have are because of you. So thank you.
You're welcome.
But it's, when I think about purchasing one, it's like, well, maybe it's not something I'm going to play all the time, but like I can hear it in a recording. It's something
Mhm.
I'm going to want to record with.
Mhm. And it becomes an investment for like a lifetime. It might be just that one recording right now, but down the line, you never know what will
Hmm.
um, unfold. Someone will need something. You'll be like, I have just the right thing, and you might not use it quite as much.
Yeah.
I think like that with like you own the Contra, and I've been. That's one flute I don't have because it's a pretty price tag high item, and I think the same thing. I'm like, but I'll only use it a little bit, but it's super cool. So I think probably down the line I will have a Contra as
I've
well.
used it more than I thought I would.
Hmm.
I play with the flute choir here occasionally in Phoenix, Desert Echoes Flute Project. Um, and then I've recorded with it too. It doesn't always work. Um, there have been some recordings that I've used the contra that I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't work. One of the reasons because it's clankier. The keys
Yeah. Hmm.
are clunky and clanky. And I
Hmm.
wish there was a way, maybe if it was a different brand, maybe
I think
I don't know.
that I mean, they're all just kind of heavy, just like
Oh,
to,
big and
to get
clunky.
the yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking over here because it's in my corner.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah,
practicing.
I would probably leave it up together too. I mean, it's such a production. I mean, I've gone to some of those flute choir things where there's. I mean, as a contra player, you need to get there like half an hour earlier to like put it together and do the things.
Yeah,
I get really lazy as a flute player. We're just like bloop bloop bloop, we're done,
yeah,
But contra is like an investment in terms of like just bringing it locations, and I know you had the whole like using a whole golf bag to bring your contra and.
yeah. When I have to fly with it, but even
Mhm.
when I go to the rehearsals here, I mean, sometimes the traffic can be really bad here in Phoenix, just like
Mhm.
California. But if there's an accident, you can be delayed, an hour. So sometimes I'm running in really late,
Mhm.
and they're ready to go, and I'm still trying to put it together, and I just
Mhm.
feel bad.
Mhm.
Really realize how long it takes to set it all up.
Yeah.
And even once it's together, it's like then I have to keep adjusting,
Mhm.
because not
Mhm.
every day's the same. I don't know, like with your C flute, you kind of know where it goes,
Yeah.
but with the contra, like I don't know, some days if you have aches and pains,
Mhm.
you have to find a comfortable position. So,
Mhm.
but I really love it. It
Mhm.
took
You
me a while. It
yes.
took me a while.
Uh-huh.
So on you had a very successful release recently within us all, and you used
Yes.
that album actually charted on Billboard. So congratulations.
Thank you.
How many different flutes did you use on that album? Do you think?
Oh, I think there was around like I think there was like around 11. I'm looking at it. I think 11. Yeah.
Native American flute on there?
Some Native American, some I mean, and you played on that. You did the bass flute. I did the contra. Or you did the bass flute, and I did a like a lower Native American flute. So I did a couple. How many were Native American? Like I think just like two or three. I did my favorite one that I've been using a lot in the recording is the alto flute with the Z head joint. I mean, just I think that just like it just so works for me. It's kind of if I was to pick one voice out um, that I was recording on, it would be like that flute. Ironically, I don't record so much with my C flute. It's just it hasn't made it onto too many CDs yet,
Yeah.
at least.
I, um, I probably use the alto the most,
Mm-hmm.
and the bass second most probably.
Mm-hmm. There's just something about the alto that seems to in the timbre and register blend with so many other things. Like it's cool when I can use other instruments, but it definitely resonates the most for me
Yeah.
personally.
And
Hmm.
you collaborated with a lot of other artists on that album. It was Will Quitman and Lynn Trudeau,
Yeah,
Mickey
that's great.
Smith,
Uh huh.
and yes, I made an appearance.
And you, yes, and of course John Herrera was great who helped me um, between you and him. That was like made it very easy to both create and get the music out because they're both important. As an artist, you have to figure out both pieces. So it's successful because of our relationship and Higher Media and Heart Dance Records. So that was like sometimes things occur in your life that are just the right time and person at the right exact situation. That was one of those things. Like, it was only, gosh, it was less than 3 years ago that this whole thing I connected with you personally, and like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna be, I need to do something else here, and I just called Sherry and I said, give me some advice, and tell me what you do with your promotion and your record company, and it moved very quickly from there. So I thank you for not only doing that, but connecting me to John, who is great, and moved it along forward
Yeah.
when I was stuck. I was kind of at a stuck place. I don't know exactly the right direction to do what I want to do. It's hard as an artist. Like, you have a vision, but how do I materialize it and get it not only to sound good, but actually get it out there, so that it can be heard, which is the
Yeah.
goal, I think.
So we've talked about, you were trying to do some collaborations while stuck in quarantine.
Yeah, I think that I'm giving myself permission to explore the idea because, and I talked to John. I actually texted him, and he got back to me and he said, whatever you want to do is cool. So we're going to try some things back and forth. Focus has been one area during this whole quarantine time that I've been a little focus wise, just not as focused as I would normally be. But I think I'm getting ready to, like, I think that it's getting better so I can actually work on some stuff. But I'm giving myself permission because it has to be the right space. So if I feel like it's not working, I'll push it to, a time when it actually does feel right. But I'm going to explore the possibility. I wish I could be one of those people. Like, I was almost a little bit jealous seeing people on Facebook and be like, yes, I've written like 10 pieces and I've recorded, these times, like, it says I have all this time in the world. And I was just like, man, I wish I could feel that, like, thing. Instead, it was like, the severity of the situation just kind of sucked a little energy creatively out of me to do that. So I had to wait for that to kind of come around.
Yeah, same here. I started playing my flute a little more at first, but then I just kind of fell into this, like, because you don't know what's happening, you don't know what to
Yeah,
think, you don't know how to feel,
right.
and so now I'm slowly coming back out of it.
But I loved your concerts that you gave even before the stay at home order took place in Phoenix. We were way before you guys when we did that.
Yeah,
But I loved seeing your concerts that you did out in your yard and even playing in the Jeep. That was super cool. Actually, you inspired because my challenge. I always give weekly challenges for my studio, and so the weekly challenge was to play in somewhere that other people can hear you, whether it be your front porch or the sidewalk or somewhere. So we'll see how many people follow through on that. Some people were gung ho. Everyone's resonates differently, right? So what works for
yeah,
one person is not going to work for another person. But I thought it was a good challenge because it is true that people, I think that with everything being the same walk, the same, four walls, it's nice to see something different. Like, hey, there's a flute player playing there, or even the rainbows. Oh, look at the rainbows, nice. Or the other day I walked by and someone had cut flowers from their garden, I guess, and like put them in and just like take a bundle of things. They're just those type of things when the news is so dark and there's so much anxiety around the uncertainty. It's nice to see little glimmers of hope, and I think
yeah.
music can actually be those little glimmers.
Yeah, I was telling you, I have my CDs set up out in the driveway now. When I
Hmm.
stop the concerts, I set up a table with CDs, and there's a sign that people can just take them, whatever they want.
Hmm. Hmm. That's
So,
super cool.
yeah, and usually my window's open, and I can hear them out there talking, and they're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
this is so nice." And then they don't know I'm here in this room, and they'll go,
Hmm.
"Thank you," and I'll go, "You're welcome." And then they're like, "Oh, we didn't know you were there."
That's
They
cool.
seem very, very appreciative.
Yeah, small gestures I think go a long way, and so that's something that helps me, and I think it helps you too. Like, if when with this whole thing, to take a little bit of action, just a little bit. Like, what can I do to just
Mhm.
make things just a little bit better? And so,
Yeah.
for the giver and receiver, I think
So
in both
now,
directions.
have you gone out and performed on your porch?
See, now, as I said that, I'm like, man, she's gonna call me on this. No, I have not. I need to. I need to take my own challenge. I've done some other things. So my where I focus the giving back is I've been doing a lot of teaching and extra teaching. So I reached out to some band directors that and asked if they would want to nominate a couple students that wouldn't be able to afford lessons that might be struggling during this time. So I've been actually teaching extra lessons just to give back because that's what I can do. I mean, everyone has their own way. I mean, I wish I could be one of those people. Being that I have a pre-existing condition, I'm really hesitant to go outside, and I'd love to say that I could shop for my elderly neighbors and like come back, but I'm not even going to the store mostly myself. So that's one way that I could feel good about giving back and something I do in my own safety of my own home. So that's my giving back way. But there's no reason that I can't go outside of my own porch and play that. So I guess that's a little excuse I was giving.
And you should videotape this also.
And I should videotape this also. Okay. Yes, you're always thinking of the. You're right. Yes.
So what do you? Because I know you're in an apartment. You have roommates in there.
Mm-hmm.
So are you cooking together? Are you all cooking separately or?
So yes, I live in. It's actually a house that I live in, but it's a house near the outer Sunset, which is near the ocean. So we kind of share our space. I think everyone does their own thing. I have a roommate, Rain, who loves to cook, so she's been cooking for me a little bit, and just to minimize some trips to the store. We've actually been cooking, but everyone has their own dietary things that they do. So. But we've been actually doing some stuff together, and I try and order at least once a week, from somewhere. So we're gonna do Thai food this week, and I'll order for everybody. So that kind of supports the local business. It actually makes me feel a little normal, like that Thai food is still being delivered. So
Yeah.
those things actually help me, just kind of with a little bit of a sense of normalcy. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been cooking more, which has been nice. I don't normally cook.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm not a cooker either, but fortunately, I think that everyone deals with this situation differently, and like how you actually get the energy out. I have one roommate who just loves to cook. Cooking has never been my thing, so she's actually been like cooking lots, and I've been benefiting from that. So it's an interesting thing, but yeah, I think everyone, even if you have the bestest of relationships, it's like when you're stuck, in a space, it's figuring out a new dynamic of being, so that everyone can coexist
Yeah.
in space.
Yeah.
But, mhm.
So how is it in San Francisco right now? Is there talk of ending the quarantine or extending it?
Well, I there's talk. Who you listen to is like the I guess the thing. I'm fortunate to be in the Bay Area because we did take action early.
Yeah.
So we're not overwhelming the health system in our immediate area, which is good. So I think that they said lifting this restrictions like between mid-May, like May 17th is a date that I heard just recently. But I don't think it's going to be a full resume life as normal thing. I think it'll be probably little steps. You'll be able to go, here, but maybe 6 feet apart. It's going to be interesting to see what this looks like and how to get back to normal without doing another round of what
Yeah.
we're doing now, which I don't think anybody wants.
Yeah, I was speaking with somebody this morning, and I'm like, if I need to wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from somebody to go out, I'm fine with that.
Hmm.
I'd like to see some businesses reopen because I just don't know. I mean, how many businesses are going to close down because of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's definitely a concern, and I know I can see it. I know that there's protests. There's it seems like the more we go into this, there becomes more conflict and more problems get the light shined on them. For sure, we need to have some stuff like reopen and reopen safely. Um, that's where I hope that experts are taken into account and come up with solutions that will work and kind of do both situations. For me personally, my business, I mean, I miss seeing my students face to face. I did something thinking about this time, whenever this is that we will be face to face. I had my dad. My dad's great. I told him the problem I have. I have a smaller studio. We can be 6 feet apart, but I'm still a little concerned. So the concern is the flute, right? The flute, we blow across the flute, and then so that there was some thought that maybe the spray from flute would actually travel farther than 6 feet apart. How am I going to do this? We can't play with a mask and play flute, you know. So, and how are we going to make ourselves feel? So he designed me. It's kind of like almost on a boom stand, but it's a plexiglass thing that will like hang in front of the student, so I can still see them completely, and they can be 6 feet apart. So if there's any spray, it will go like on that. So like, I mean, that's just, you got to think creatively. How can I feel safe? And make myself and my students safe during this time, you know, and be creative. And I think every business has to do that for themselves. What can I do? Even if it's not going to be like 100%, nothing is 100%, right? But like, how could we minimize this so that we can get back to normalcy, make people feel safe, and actually decrease the, you know, the contact of things. So I think this is a time for businesses to be creative, and I love seeing how businesses are creative in different ways. Like, there's a man in Oakland who does these like underground concerts and vegan cooking at the same moment in time. So of course his business went, you know, under completely because that. So he's instead, you know, just doing the delivery aspect and delivering cookbooks and things like that. That's you know, creative ways of being. So I know that that doesn't work for every business in every situation, but I think it does make all businesses look at their what they offer and maybe expand maybe how they're going to offer. So hopefully in the future, it could actually help a business. They might think of an offering that they hadn't initiated before that was helpful, and that might help in the future. I'm just optimistic that way, that there has to be some good out of this that comes from it, from the business side. Maybe businesses that did not deliver before are going to, you know, deliver again in the future. You know, continue that. For me personally, I may offer online lessons. I'm still exploring that. You know, it's something that I wouldn't have considered 6 weeks ago of doing as a permanent thing. But now I have a student that found me from Colorado. You know, so she found me from Colorado, wants to take lessons because I was doing online lessons. You know. So, you know, that could help me. So I'm hoping that other things like that are happening with businesses, small and large.
Yeah. Did your dad send you that shield yet? Have you tried
Not
it?
yet. It's going to be mailed. I have pictures of it, and I think it'll work. I mean, again, it's not 100%. I think along with a couple other little, you know, things I have in mind for the studio that will help with sanitation and such. But yeah, I think it'll work, and I think I'll put it up on Facebook too. I actually put a little thing on it, but I think it could actually be adapted from a mic stand, a boom mic stand, and a plexiglass shield. So hopefully, you know, if other people are thinking these things, you know, that's what they have in front of cashiers. You go in front of a cashier and they have like, you know, this plexiglass shield because for a
I
lot of
haven't seen that yet because I have not been out to the stores since this started. My husband
pictures. Yeah, I actually have not either, but yeah. So yeah, eventually got to go back. Sorry.
Well, Chuck, you know, he makes the runs to the store once a week or once every 2 weeks, and he was telling me about the plexiglass, but surprisingly, like the cashiers are not wearing masks or gloves.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
It's now mandated. As in San Francisco, you must wear a mask if you're an essential worker or if you're going into a location. Businesses can no longer do business with customers that are not wearing a mask. So if you go in to even pick up, you know, your delivery order, you're supposed to be denied. The businesses are not supposed to serve you unless you have a mask.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't understand why there's just not, I mean, that's a simple one. I don't understand why there's not a federal mandate for that. That seems like a simple prevention
Right.
that we
Right.
can all benefit from.
I agree. And it's not
There's a
that.
lot of things I don't understand. So, you know, you just kind of like, you know, you can't control other people, and it's not helpful. I mean, I saw some things on the news. It's not helpful to address anyone that's not wearing a mask or anything like that. That could just escalate, you know,
Yeah.
into situations. So I'm hoping that, like everything, I think everyone's getting a little bit better at this as it goes along. And it's taken some time for sure to kind of, you know, people are still figuring things out. But I'm hopeful that if this ever occurs, again, we'll be like much more ready, and this won't escalate like it has. Number one, and that we can get this under control so we don't have to do this again. I mean, that's my big fear is that we have to do this again in the fall,
Right.
winter, which is just like a horrible thought. So,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
I know. I told you I'm a what if person, so I do. That's my what ifs.
Well, gosh. You and I have talked about, traveling and performing together.
Hmm.
Like how can't even
You can
attempt.
make plans. I mean, I don't think immediate plans for, I'm not making summer plans, but like we were talking, I think that thinking out into 2021 and late 2020, if things get canceled, they're beyond our control. So I think that, planning ahead is a good idea because this has to return to some normalcy. We have to. We can't wait for a vaccine before we can like go out into the world.
Well, I hope live music comes back, but in my mind, I'm like, well, are people going to want to go out to be in crowds? Are they going to need to stay 6 feet apart? So, like
Hmm.
when you go to a house concert, usually people are packed in
Hmm.
a house concert. So, is anybody
Yeah.
going to want to go to a house concert? And
Yeah, it might be. I think we're gonna tiptoe out of this. We're not gonna come out with running out of the gates. It's gonna be tiptoes, but I think eventually it will. I mean, there's always been germs, and maybe I'll say for me, I don't think, and even being a what if person, I don't think I ever washed my hands for 30 seconds or 20 seconds like they were recommending. I'm like, it's actually a long time.
yeah,
That's a pattern of behavior I will continue always. I
right.
think traveling on airplanes, I didn't wear masks. I would even look at people and be like, oh, that's silly. They're wearing a mask this entire 6 hour flight. I think I'm going to wear a mask every flight from now on, corona or no corona. So hopefully behaviors, the things that you can control. But of course, I'm not going to be a person that doesn't go to a live concert, again, so you take some more preventative measures, maybe that will help.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also hopeful that they're just beginning this antibody study in New York, and so the more people that have the antibodies, then it's not going to affect as many of those people. So if less people can get it, then less people are going to they're not going to transmit it at the same rate. So hopefully
Yeah.
that as well. So I mean, we're still at the beginning stages of it, but live music and entertainment, even movies, people they can't do movies at this moment in time. We got to get back to providing arts. All the orchestras are out of session. That's it's the scale of this is just mind boggling. Of what this is the shutdown. I mean, would have never even imagined this was possible at the beginning of 2020. When you're thinking about your year,
Yeah.
an entire shutdown is just it's kind of a
Yeah.
crazy thought. So we can't be like this
Because New
forever.
Year's, I was, making my goals for the year, and it's like,
Yeah,
so
and it,
that's all gone.
right. And I do feel, and it worries me the division. And I think one of the clearest things I thought is you can be a person that takes this seriously. You can also be a person that understands the economic precautions of this at the same moment in time. So you can be there. There is a balance I think that can occur. It's not just this belief or this belief. I believe it's real, but I also believe that we have to also protect our economy at the same
Yeah.
moment in time. So um, the division definitely makes me a little sad to see in the country of how more divided we are
Yeah.
becoming. But that's where music and arts, I mean, I think are great. Alicia Keys is premiering a song on tonight on CNN. I thought that was like,
Okay.
now that's news I want to watch, tonight. She's doing a premiere. It's called Good Job for All the Healthcare Workers. So, so getting some global, well, she's always,
Yeah.
but to actually use some news that have some music and the healing power of music, I think is pretty cool. So,
Yeah, I was reading too that classical music the streams for classical music have been going up.
oh, good.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. What was I just reading? I think rock is lower, but like classical has been going up. Um, country is holding its own.
Nice. Yeah. And there's been some free live stream. Like some of my students watched a free thing of Phantom of the Opera. I guess they did something over YouTube that was free, so they were exposed to something new that they hadn't seen or watched just because of this situation. So that's cool.
Yeah, I sort of feel like I should be, um, I guess, on the internet more, just exploring these things. But I've been just trying to like keep working, keep working, keep working, for normalcy. But maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I should be watching all these specials or.
Yeah, you gotta do like everyone. I think this should, is a word that I know I need to watch because when you put that on, it's like everyone's going to deal with this a different way. You're doing all these great, quarantine artist series and the mindful music thing. That you got to stream it into something, your energy into something that feels good to you. That's going to
Yeah.
keep you sane.
Well, I feel like I'm doing something.
You're doing something. That's like me at the beginning. I should be creating an album right now. I have extra time. I'm not traveling or going anywhere. And then that should becomes like a thing like, that doesn't become, it doesn't help you enable that. So I should be getting like running and doing, a marathon, preparing for a marathon right now. I have extra time, that everyone's going to, it's great if you can. It's awesome, but not everyone is going to respond that same way. So you don't want to feel guilty for that. Like my sister, she actually texted me this. She's like, "Do you think the marathon in Chicago will be canceled in October? Because I'm thinking that maybe I shouldn't I should stop training." I'm like, if you don't want to keep running, just don't run. I don't know if the marathon in October is going to be canceled or not.
Well, it's outdoors. You can stay 6 feet apart.
Yeah, I knew exactly where she was going. I think I should just stop running and just be like, in my house.
Yeah, it's just hard to know what to do. And then I'm afraid, like, when we come out of this, I'm going to look back and regret that I didn't do different things while we were in quarantine.
I think we probably all will. We probably all will. But hindsight is 2020, right? And you just don't have the. If you just don't have the energy or like it's not you're not in the moment. We are in a crisis. I mean, you can't deflate the idea that we are in a global crisis right now. So like, if you come out of this global crisis with any bit of new information or any new thing skill that you've done, then you're already ahead of the curve, as they so to speak. That
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that I should be doing this. I should be doing this type of thing. But like it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. It's
Yesterday,
heavy.
I was like, I should be meditating more. I should be doing yoga more.
Uh huh. I've gone through many moments like that. Yeah, I think that's you can have a whole series on that. What you should, the should have during the quarantine type of
Yeah.
thing. But you can't do everything at any time anyway. But I will say that I was thinking this morning that after this whole thing, I think I'm going to be more appreciative. You take for granted some of the little things, like just going for a cup of coffee and sitting down with a book at a cafe sounds like heaven right now. Just to like be like doing something, going to a movie, going, we complain about airports and like how long it takes and all that stuff, but it makes you appreciate when you don't have it. You can't do it. The airplanes are still flying, but essentially you don't want to be doing that unless you need to. So I
Yeah.
definitely will be more appreciative just from my own self because I do have a tendency to take things for granted. I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do like the fact that it has required us to slow down and think about things, about
Yes,
our families, and
definitely.
I do appreciate that aspect of what's been happening. But yeah, it's just so weird. I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm supposed to think or feel.
Yeah, it's like a dream, and that's the best description of it. Because some days you feel like it's clear, and then other days it feels like it's like what's going to happen. Like so it does feel like it's this little roller coaster thing, um, and gotta just put some trust. And I know it's hard. That's a hard one for me. Like because there's only so much you can personally do.
Yeah.
Other than that,
When I was talking to Lynn Trudeau, they had a big earthquake in and a lot of
I
aftershock.
did hear that. Yeah.
Um, so I'm assuming you have them a lot in San Francisco.
We do. I mean, a lot of times you don't notice them. I hear about them sometimes when I didn't feel them. I mean, I think like above a 5.0, if it's near me, I'll probably feel. But sometimes those little threes and twos and things like that, I don't feel as much.
Yeah.
We certainly don't need another big. I'm a what if person. What if there was an earthquake right now? That would be horrible. Um, and they are still happening in areas of the world. It's kind of tornadoes and in the
Yeah.
Midwest and
I didn't
but
know if you maybe San Francisco was getting more of them because Idaho had them or
no, I don't. It might. I'm not. That's one scientific thing that I haven't. I don't know. I mean, if you look at, sometimes I go on and it's quite amazing. It'd be like all these earthquakes listed that 2.2 and 3.2 and
yeah.
um. So I like to think of them as like just little things that are helping release the energy rather than a precursor to a big earthquake. So when I do feel one, I don't freak out that, oh my gosh, maybe this is just, it's going to happen time. But being an anxious person, I do have a full like earthquake kit, like, thing downstairs, so I can, and a bag to go, because we do live in an earthquake,
Yeah. Yeah.
region.
Yeah. So what's in the bag?
What's in the bag? A lot of pre-charged I have like 3 or 4 of the pre-charged chargers. I mean, that's probably like my biggest thing. Extra medicine, some toiletries, just a change of clothes, some cash in case I couldn't like find any cards. Hopefully, I'd have my purse with me, but I don't know. I have an extra ID in there just in case, like that would happen. So, just the basics to get me through. A couple and some bars, for food. But that would be if I needed to actually leave my house and like get away from
Yeah.
stuff rather than stay here. That would have to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the pre-charge things, I mean, I think that I'm dependent upon technology. The thought of like having something and like not having a cell phone that was charged, that would be bad. So I think I have several of those
Well, I
charged.
think that's very smart.
Yeah.
And it's probably something everybody does in your area, I would assume.
I don't know. I probably that's it's something you should do. Go back to the should. It's something you should do, but you think that it's not going to happen, or like you use the charger and forget to charge it back up, things like
Yeah.
that. Um, Hopefully it won't happen, but we do live in that we live in an earthquake.
Hey, did you get your order of toilet paper yet from Amazon?
No, I did
No, mine
not.
mine says like May 21st through June 21st.
Really? I haven't looked at my Amazon. Yes, my mom ordered us 50 rolls of toilet paper. Um, we're good. We're okay for probably for another week or two. So hopefully it'll be here before we really need it. It's a funny item of all the things. Did not have that in my earthquake kit. It was a little silly. And as I said, I was like actually shopping before people were too panicked on it, and I did notice that it was like going low, and I'm like, oh, that's silly. I mean, I got enough to like maybe last, like that's like not something you need, to
Right.
like.
You need food and water.
Right, right.
Survive.
So I was not a toilet paper hoarder, but I did regret not like getting more of it. Same thing with the hand sanitizer. I mean, I got enough for me for the moment, an extra because I teach and I wanted to make sure students used it. But um, it was like between that week of time, between the week of time when I got nervous about it and the week of time when people actually like got really nervous. It was amazing what happened in the
Yeah.
stores. It was a thing.
Well, I remember getting that text from you.
I I thought I should let other people know what was happening, and because we hit it first, and like we just went on a shelter in place, and the stores are crazy. So
Yeah, you're like, go get your pasta and your toilet paper.
I did it. I did it. I'm guilty of that.
And we did. Like, Chuck was out of town. And I go, should I go to the store? He's like, I don't know. What do you think? I go, I think I should go to the store.
Certain things you're not gonna like. You're gonna use it, So it's not like you're being wasteful and like buying things that are perishable that you're not going to use.
Yeah.
So that was my justification.
Yeah. But I thought once, like, the whole rush was over, and then everybody was staying at home in quarantine, that the stores would be restocking, but it doesn't seem like they can keep it in the stores very long either.
Well, I think people are buying differently. Like when we go, I haven't. We'll have to go to the grocery store again actually next week. Or actually, my roommate who doesn't mind shopping, I just give her cash to buy for me. But she's said that they were like if you go earlier in the morning,
Right.
they're better. But everyone doesn't buy that. It's good that you don't go out extra, so if you buy for like 2 weeks at a time rather than going, like your normal routine would be. So I'm thinking that might be one of the things that's happening is that they're just not used to people buying the quantities at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck actually went to Costco. Do you have Costco?
It's not a store I shop at, but I know we do outside of the city.
He
Yeah.
went yesterday when they opened, and he was able to get Kleenex, paper towels, and toilet paper.
Oh, good.
And we hadn't been able to get it at our grocery store down the road since it
Hmm.
got started.
Wow.
So we're stocked up for a little while.
Good. 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 Good.
By the time I get my Amazon order in May or June,
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yes, you'll be stocked up for, yeah.
Rest of the year now.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this with me
Yeah, this is
today.
fun.
It's just a good way to stay in touch with people,
Hmm.
which is really important right now, I think.
Hmm. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is fun to do and good to hang out and connect and yeah.
So I hope your family's doing well. We're all safe.
Yep, everyone's safe. Everyone's working from home. My brother and sister-in-law they work in the health field, the ICU and paramedics, so they're keeping busy but their neighbors are super appreciative of them and they've been getting really nice care packages and response from neighbors, which is nice to see people like
Yeah.
appreciating when someone is doing such a service.
Yeah. And that must take a toll on them mentally, too.
I would imagine, yes, yeah. It's I think hard for all healthcare workers because of what you see, but also you want to keep your family safe. You're out there doing this and working with patients, but you also want to keep your family safe. So I'm sure it's a challenge that way.
Yeah. Well, we're all very, very appreciative of what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thanks so
It was
much.
good talking, Sherry.
All
Yes.
right. We'll
All right.
talk about it
Bye.
again. Bye.
Bye.